next step is that, well, now I was able to call people on the telephone. I was able to start sponsoring people.
Did it make a big difference?
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
just
for sure.
But from numbers increased first, right?
Obviously, numbers. At that point, I could start making genealogy. Started calling genealogy lists, making 200 or 300 cold calls to that a day. And
so you're doing cold call lists?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's when the experimentation started on the marketing side.
Yeah.
I got the personal stuff to a functional point. Now, how do we take advantage of the marketing? And it really was just an experiment of trial and error. And my goal was always to work smarter, not harder. And I saw people who were out there just hammering the phones, just working really hard. And I always used to ask myself and say, there's got to be a better way to go about this. And that's really when I came across direct response marketing and internet marketing. And I love the idea of being able to leverage the written word or written sales presentation instead of giving one on the telephone all the time. I mean, if I generate leads, I call those people on the telephone. But I don't want to cold call 200 people a day for my income, right? So that's when I figured, well, hey, if I can learn how to write down a sales presentation and put it on a website or put it in an email.
You basically created a third-party tool that you used online.
And leveraged online. Because up until that point, I was really buying leads, from lead companies or calling genealogy lists.
It's a tough road, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think it's a very important process for people to go through because you learn so much from it. But at that point in time, I was like, all right, I need more leverage in my life. So that's when I learned how to market online, put some ads on pay-per-click, and then all of a sudden I've got 20, 30, 40, 50 people contacting me per day, filling out my capture form and seeing my sales presentation. And when I called them on the telephone, they knew who I was, at that point finally.
So let's back up for a second. So you talked about, basically you created a third-party tool online to be able to approach people using pay-per-click instead of approaching people in different ways. But basically it was approach people, have them look at a third-party tool, and if they had an interest, so it was a sorting tool. But I want to get back to the reinvention of you. I want to get back to what made you different. Okay, so did you, what made you valuable to your organization? Was it the fact that you were somebody who was now knowledgeable, that you were experienced, did you change the way you dressed, did you change the way you talked, did you learn how to present in front of people, did you communicate? What were some of the things you did there?
That's a great question. It definitely acquiring value.
Yeah.
When you acquire value and when you acquire skill set, you now value yourself at a different level, which means you interact with people differently. Yeah. Up until that point when I was talking to a prospect, they had all the power because all I had was an opportunity. Right? I mean, there's nothing different or special about me. There's no reason to work with me personally. All I had was a business opportunity. Here you go. And there was no reason for them to join me specifically.
People join a person more than they join a company inside of our profession.
Absolutely.
Because like you say, they perceive
what's in it for them?
A benefit. I know people join me because they feel like they can make money with me.
Right.
I mean, and I leverage that when I talk to people. You can make money with me, and I think other people do the same. The people at the very, very beginning, and I will tell you, when I first started, when I had the most success is when I had that, when I wasn't successful. I told people, look, if you get involved, we're going to make money together.
Right.
Before I even had a reputation, because I could hear some people saying, well, I don't have that reputation. So
none of us did.
How am I going to make it happen?
Right.
Well, at some point you have to build up enough posture to be able to say to somebody, look, we'll do this together, and don't bet against me. It's a bad decision to bet against me because we're gonna go after them.
Well, they want leadership. Yeah. And you don't have to.
Leadership, confidence, posture.
And it's very simple. I mean, everything changed, and I still remember this phone call, where I was, what took place on it. And it was the first phone call where I took that leadership position, and I said, here's what you do next. Look, here's how this works. Here's what doesn't work. Here's how we're going to build your business, because it really is just an opportunity, but how you build it is really where the value is found. So if you can simply tell someone, I know this is new to you, but here's what we're going to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, here's what you need to do next. That's all that's required. Yep. If you're able to do that on a phone call with someone, you're the expert, you're the leader, now they're going to want to work with you.
Here's what we need to do next.
Yeah.
You need to guide them down the road. And I will tell you, a combination of that and modeling, one of the things that I did is there's one guy who came from corporate America that became part of my company early on. And I always were dealing with these people that worked for big companies, and they were just so cool. They were just really full of themselves, and they were really arrogant and a lot of ego. And I didn't know what to do with it because I was a young guy.
Right.
But I watched one of the guys that I respected inside of that company, how he dealt with it. He was just like, look, he had so much posture.
Right.
With somebody like that. I literally copied what he said. When I got that attitude from somebody, I copied what he said word for word.
Right.
When I was 24.
Right.
And I just said, look, to these people who are 42 and had been working inside a big company for forever, and I got the same exact result.
Right.
Just by basically mimicking the posture and mimicking the script, not the word for word script, but mimicking what he was saying to him. Is, look, I know as well as you know that your life inside that corporation isn't a bed of roses, and you have to deal with politics, and you have to deal with a lot of infighting and backstabbing, and you're not getting paid what you're worth, and I don't try and sell me a picture because I know what you're really dealing with.
Right.
And I know you'd like to be on your own, and I know you're not getting paid what you're worth, but so come on, let's go. So I would say that as a 24, 25-year-old,
right.
And they would say, yeah, you know what, kid, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, you're smart for being such a young guy. And I was just mimicking what somebody that was 40 years old said.
Well, what that really is, whenever you get an objection in this industry, I don't care who the person is, they're doing it subconsciously, and it really is they're testing you to see whether or not you're really a leader like you are pretending to be, or if you're just faking it. And that's what an objection is designed to do. And they want to find out, hey, if I'm going to follow this guy, he better be the real deal, or it's going to cost me in some way, shape, or form, and it's going to be a bad decision. So.
And subconsciously, they're not consciously testing you. They're just subconsciously
throwing that out there, and they want to see how you respond. And if you don't respond in the way that you did, then
they'll run you over.
Instantly done.
I got run over by everybody.
Yeah, well, that's the only way you ever figured this out. And I never really knew what that was about. That was, again, coming to study, attraction psychology and things like that, as I finally understood,
Did you change your image at all?
It wasn't intentional. I still remember the day that I went and bought my first $200 pair of designer jeans and and
I remember the first $1,000 suit. The magic of a $1,000 suit, man.
Yeah.
Your life never the same after you do that.
Yeah, I mean, so that's cool, and a lot of people have probably read Robert Kiyosaki's books, know him very well, and he's a big mentor of mine, and he's always said that he lived beyond his financial means in the beginning, but not beyond what he expected of himself.
Right.
Like, he lived the reality that he knew he was going to create, even though he couldn't afford it at the time.
So it's a prosperity mindset type of a thing.
And that's what I've always had. I mean, I've never been afraid to go out and get the car, get the clothes, or whatever that I was congruent with who I was in my head, though it may not be physically yet.
Yep.
Because if you're congruent with that and you live it, you'll live into it.
Yeah.
And so I've always made it a point to, here's what I envision in my head, to go make it a reality in as many little ways as possible, whether it's through the clothes, the watch, the car, the house, whatever it may be. Because your subconscious always finds a way to, if that's where you're congruent, that's where your thermometer's set at, your subconscious finds a way to get your reality to that point as well.
Well, and I'll tell you what I did too. I did a combination of that, but I also said early on, I'm going to become world class. Inside of network marketing, I'm going to become world class. So I'm going to find all the world class people, and I'm going to suck every ounce of value I can get out of them. I'm going to get a good idea from you. Boom, I'm going to use it, and I'm going to put it into my, my lineup of value, and then I'm going to find the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one. That's what this show can be for you, I hope, is that you take good ideas and that you put them into your persona to be able to create a better future.